Hello. Welcome to the stream. It's me. Hi. I'm on time for once. Isn't that a rarity? I woke up early enough that I could actually get up, do my daily stuff on the computer, the computer. Do my daily stuff that I usually do every morning. Get up, do my laundry, and still be here in time to stream. I could have started early, but I wanted to give my throat some time to wake up before I jump into a cavalcade of different accents. Also, my tea is now cool enough to drink right from the start of the stream. Isn't that wonderful? Nice. So we're getting into more Great Ace Attorney today. 4 Great Ace Attorney streams in a row. I apologize. However, I do need to finish this game. Actually, is this number 4? All right, yeah. I was thinking, like, how do we get to number 4? Did I do a different stream on a Saturday once? No. I was just sick one Sunday, so I skipped that stream. Yeah, we're on the final chapter now. Theoretically, I could finish it this weekend, but I don't want to have a particularly long stream on Sunday. So my plan is that I'm going to finish it next weekend. We're going to start it this week, and then tomorrow we'll do my monthly Lego building stream. Then next weekend we'll finish it, and the weekend after, maybe I'll try to arrange things so we can do a big long stream to try and finish Famicom Detective Club, the second one, in like 2 streams. Because the week after, the next Famicom Detective Club game comes out, and I don't want to be spoiled. And I know what Twitter's like. I don't know if anyone I'm following would really spoil Famicom Detective Club of all things, but I don't want to get caught out, you know? Alright, let's get into the game, shall we? We're on to the final chapter. I would normally call it the final case, but the case is split between 2 chapters, which is interesting. Hold on, I need to turn the volume up in my headphones. Let's continue. From Final, the resolve of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Final chapter. Oh, no opening cutscene, okay. 3rd November, 9:14 AM. I promise I'm not dyslexic. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. I do have thoughts about what all is going to be revealed in the final chapter and how it's going to come together, but I'm going to keep those to myself for the time being and just wait and see how it all unfolds. So the time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything. I'll be counting on your support more than ever today, Miss Sato. Miss Sato? Ah. Had to get one more Susato takedown in there. Oh no, what's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Nothing. I was just saying that I'll be relying on your support today, but I'm so sorry, of course. I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but I shan't let you down. Would you mind helping me to my feet then? Oh dear, I'm really very sorry. Susato-san isn't her usual self at all. But that's hardly surprising, I suppose. She's just found out that her father is the partner of a world-famous detective, not to mention... Good morning, sir. Hmm? Sir. Lord Van Zeeks. Thank you for all your efforts yesterday. What? Did I hear that correctly? What? Oh, no, nothing. Just, I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says, I hate you, but his words are almost jovial today. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday. Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Good point. The Reaper. I suppose in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged. Huh? It was my tacit acceptance of that pseudonym. My failure to stop the Reaper becoming something more than a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Van Zeeks. It's only because serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public began calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it? To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason. What do you mean? There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. Exclamation mark. That having been slain by that evil killer, Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod, to wield a deadly blade of justice where I, by dint of the law, could not. Yes, we've heard that story too, have we? I haven't. When I lost him, I felt as though I'd lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less keenly. Even if I knew it was just an illusion. Just some nonsense conjured up by an over-imaginative public. He was obviously extremely important to you. Lord Clint Van Zeeks. Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I know that you didn't take anyone's life. Oh no. I was fine this morning, and then right as I was about to start stream, I started coughing, so... You know, that's great. And I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today. I never thought I'd say this, but I can see it in your eyes. That burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity. Thank you. Now, tell me, why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air? There's Iris. Oh, Iris, when did you get here? Oh. I brought you one of my special blends. Hurley loves it. He says it helps him to clear his head. I thank you. Oh, hehe. That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. You seem different today, Iris. Oh? Sort of subdued, I suppose. I am not. What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Seath's laboratory. Alright then. Good luck to you both. I have to make a move now. Oh, you're not staying? I thought you'd want to watch today's proceedings. Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready. Get ready? For what? Oh, yes. Would you take this? Isn't that one of the little felt dolls that's usually dangling from your knapsack? Yes, it's a lucky charm. A little Hurley that I made once. A Hurley? Looks more like a Haley to me. If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trials today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. What? Pull his ears? That's right. It's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it. Alright. You think what we'll need is luck? I just sneaked a peek inside the courtroom, and it seemed very different to normal. Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops. What does that mean? Strong heart, obviously. What about Mr. Sherms, Iris? But as for what he's done... I don't know. He was out all night and he hadn't come back home by the time I left this morning. Oh, I see. Was Professor Mikatoba out all night too, do you think, Mr. Sato? Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all. They? Father and Judge Jigoku, I mean. Judge Jigoku too? That's right. Nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday. Interesting. We do still have that ferry ticket on hand. So maybe that's... There's going to be some reason that that's relevant. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once. Good luck then, Runo. Good luck, Susie. Yes. Thanks, Iris. And to you, Mr. Reaper. I hope it goes well. Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing. Oh, I'm so glad. We must go inside now, Lord Van Zeeks. I've finished my tea, now I can begin in earnest. Lord Van Zeeks has always been the formidable prosecutor I've had to lock horns with in court. But not today. Today I battle with another in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Me trying to find a way I can sit where I can actually lean back in my chair without my legs or my chair ramming into the cable of the microphone. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final reckoning. Well, that's dramatic. It's just a court case. $9:30. It's not even 9:30 here yet. It's still 9:16. I stream fairly early in the morning, in case you weren't aware. Feels even more oppressive here than it did yesterday. There are cold stares piercing me like knives from all sides today. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, look! There he is. I was kind of spoiled about this. I was looking at the judges page on the Ace Attorney wiki because I wanted to see just how many judges actually get names. And I did see Lord Strongart's name on there. So, I guess this was what that was hinting at. But, here we are. It's Lord Strongart. Kazuma must have known beforehand. The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system. The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, the subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that Prism's staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak. Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all over the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial, and one over which I, Male Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority. I don't think we should just have open flames sitting there. The 6 years flames just... As was the case yesterday, in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process. In other words, a collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart. On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Van Zeeks. You are a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact. That's not a gavel. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court in session. For the trial of Baroque Van Zeeks, who officially stands accused of murder. Please sit down. I don't like that angle. Counsels for the prosecution and defense, are you in full readiness to proceed? The defense is ready, my lord. As is the prosecution. Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard. Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret, which Scotland Yard knew nothing about. And in those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice. Mr. Daily Vigil, who would be given the inspector's identification, and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work when in fact he wasn't. At the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation. Because whilst he was engaged as chief warder at Barclay Prison, he abetted the convict's escape. Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinners. He's recovered enough to give a signed statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the Red-Headed League. Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim may have been killed one day earlier. That was based largely on the discovery that the victim's pocket watch had not been wound. The prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord. Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Asogi. I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed that the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on the 31st of October, the day before his body was discovered. I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the amended details. The official opinion of the investigation team was made clear yesterday that the time of death was 5 p.m. on 1st November. There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled. That's out of the question. I am very sus of strong art. This is interesting, because I do definitely feel like strong art is the one pulling the strings here. He was the true like mastermind behind the Reaper, I think. However, this is interesting. There have been so many different kinds of quote-unquote battles in the Ace Attorney series. Normally it's against a witness who's just on the stand. We've had a couple times where it's against a prosecutor. There's been one time where it's like against our own client. This is the first time we've really had to battle against the judge, seeing as I'm assuming that's what's happening here. Strong Art's trying to wrap things up quickly so that it's not revealed that he's actually involved. That's what it feels like. So this is going to be a very interesting case. That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. My lord, this is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept the new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it would give renewed significance to the movements of the victim the day before the Fresno Street incident. It would, yes, especially on that day. Wait, hold on. Did I read that right? Especially since, on that day, Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secret activities. I need water. The tea was not enough. I need water. Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities? Scotland Yard put an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday. Exclamation mark. I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now. I'm guessing Gina? There she is. State your name and occupation for the court. Inspector Gina Lestrade reporting. Representative of Scotland Yard. A self-conferred rank, but never mind. Gina, again? What's the problem, Ono? What's with that Gina again? Look, eh? The boss meant the world to me. He done more for me than anyone else ever did. Oh, Inspector Gregson, you mean? He got me out of the back slums of the East End and took me under his wing. Told me that life can have a purpose. So that's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking for him. Oh, Gina. Right. Out of all the goodness of Gregson's heart, not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes, no. What's relevant to these proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigation yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about. Very troubling. That face. Lord Strongheart knew. Yeah, no shit. So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report.
Coming right up, sir.
It's weird seeing Gina just in like default pose like this. Normally her default pose is like 45 angle, like hand on bag strap, etc. Seeing her just standing completely front on, no pose whatsoever, feels weird. Anyway, the victim's movements.
All yard detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. But a little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings that day. Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. What matters most is witnesses what saw the Reaper at the place too.
Eh? Smuggled goods? Of course it comes back to smuggling. It always comes back to smuggling.
I don't know, do I? I'm just telling you what was written in the book.
Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines, goods of all sorts flowing into London by illegal channels from across the globe. It's well known that they're disposed of at regular black markets that take place in the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time. So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets? It's been suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity. No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of his investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority without the Yard's knowledge.
And do we know where the dealings were taking place this time?
In a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentlemen's club.
Reading is hard.
And on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter.
That can't be.
We haven't heard anything about any of this. Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question. The accused, Baroque Van Zieks, was present. That would be very significant testimony, then.
Oh my, but... Lord Van Zieks has made no mention of this, at all.
In short, Lord Van Zieks had ample opportunity to murder the victim. I don't like the clang of his horse gavel. Very well then, counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination. I'm trying to give his voice like more weight, I guess, than the regular judge. But like, he's in the judge's seat. It's difficult to not just do the judge's voice. Anyway, let's press. So, you follow orders, do you, Gina?
Nah, not me. I'm above all that, see?
Oh.
The boss always had special orders for me. Grab us some fish and chips, or go and give Toby his grub. That kind of thing.
So, errands more than orders, then. This detective is still an apprentice, after all.
Yeah, well, this apprentice ain't one to sit around and wait to be told what to do, even by the boss. That's why I've been doing my own investigations into what happened. I didn't find much at first.
But a little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it. So you went through Inspector Gregson's things?
Yep, as part of the independent Lestrade investigation.
I'm sure your superiors would be delighted that you're taking the initiative.
So I snuck into his office when no one else was about. Because if anyone at the yard had seen me going in there, they'd have me turfed straight out on the street.
Oh, they'd have turfed me straight out on the street.
is sounding less and less like an investigation and more and more like something else. The prosecution understands that it was this very detective who discovered the notebook. You got that right. Nothing gets past Inspector Lestrade and her trusty assistant, Chief Inspector Toby. We found it hidden in one of his desk drawers at a false bottom. That's impressive. So then I went to hide myself when no one could find me, so I could have a butcher's at what was written in it. Because if anyone at the yard had found me out, they'd have turfed me straight out on the street. I've given it in now, though, ain't I? And if it weren't for me, it never would have been found. Fair enough. Boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings. Do you have any idea where those dealings were taking place? Yep. It was all in there in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember. As I already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club. Yeah, but what gentleman's club specifically? Yes, I remember, but I was hoping to find out the name of the club. That won't be necessary. What? It's conceivable that the club might be used again by the smugglers in future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name in these proceedings. That is bullshit? That is bullshit. I don't know what the fuss is about. It's right here. All I gotta do is read it out. And I could too. I got this reading game buttoned up now. Can't I show you what I can do? Go on, what's the arm? The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. Well, let's try. No harm in trying. This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. As I explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine. No, my lord, the prosecution has no objection. He's angry. Customer? There's no question that Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on that particular trail on the day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive. He's mad. Right then. I get to show off my reading skills. Apparently, the smuggled goods dealing was going to happen at a gentleman's club called the Grouse. Let me have a look at my evidence. Red-headed League, photo, frame photo, red hairpiece. Autopsy report. Oh, hold on. My mom just sent me her Wordle score. I need to reply. Like, if we have to, like, go through all that to get the information, surely it's going to be relevant. But I don't think I've heard of the Grouse before. Passport document. Clint's autopsy report and the good luck charm. Can we just pull it now? What a charming little rabbity version of Mr. Sholmes. Do you suppose this is how Iris sees him? You're alright, Mr. Naruhodo. Your eyes are veritably boring into the poor doll's ears. Oh, sorry. I was just wondering. What do you suppose would happen if we were to tug its ears? If I were to tug its ears with all my might right now? I'm sure that we'll find out when the time is right. To become a proper gentleman, you really must learn stoic patience. But I want to know. Mood. Okay, I don't know what the grouse is all about, but let's press anyway. The grouse. What sort of a club is that? I ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't exactly my thing. But I am kind of curious. They're not places where a foreign student like you would be readily admitted. Have you looked in the mirror recently? I tell you what, me and Chief Inspector Toby could go in undercover. Could you? Could you though? I could pick out a few good marks and see what else I could find out while I was in there. I really don't think you should go picking out anything. Anyway, that's where these black market dealings were going to take place, is it? Yeah, it's gotta be. That's what the lower-ranking detectives at the yard reckon. Says the even lower-ranking detective. Looks like it was a big job, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. So how would Inspector Gregson come to find out about it in that case? That's the question, ain't it? But I'm just an apprentice, so... And why didn't he inform Scotland Yard of his findings? Yeah, that's what I was asking myself. Because, you know, I'm just an apprentice. When it suits you, yes. Anyway, the point is, something went on at that club, no question. You can't say that for certain, though, surely. What matters most is there's witnesses. Lord Van Zieks was at the club? He was. Detectives who visited the club yesterday to make inquiries have confirmed it. Several members report have seen the accused being admitted to the room in question as a guest. Looks like there's no disputing that he was there then. Well, we know that Lord Van Zieks was investigating Inspector Gregson, don't we? Perhaps he'd already discovered the Inspector's secret notebook. Which led him to the club, you mean? Maybe. Presumably then, there are also eyewitnesses that can testify that Gregson was there? None have been identified at this time, no. So the all-important victim wasn't seen at this mysterious club. Oi! Why aren't you asking Inspector Lestrade, eh? So that's all I've got to work with. Gina's not holding back with that ice-cold stare of hers, is she? I really don't know what to make of all this. Lord Van Zieks told us he was investigating Inspector Gregson, but he never once mentioned that he met the inspector the day before the incident. You don't think Lord Van Zieks could have been lying to us, do you? That's not the only way to explain this. Oh! If everything Lord Van Zieks has told us is true, then there must be a mistake in this testimony somewhere. You mean there are details we've yet to uncover? Exactly. A clue, perhaps, that even Gina hasn't noticed. That's what we should be looking for here. I feel like it's got to be the grouse, but what do we present? Just like deliberately keeping my finger away from the present button. Just sort of checking that there's nothing about a grouse in there. And this is just a steamship ticket. The Black Bird line. That's got... Is a grouse a black bird? It is a bird. It's not black, though. Okay. Good to know. Oh, okay, so we can't look around at that. This... Nothing that would point to a grouse. This is standard police fare. Oh, that's probably going to be... What's his face's then? Strong Art, because he's part of the judiciary as well. Nothing of note there.
It's just a photo. Autopsy report. Time of death, indeterminate. Evidence suggests measures may have been taken to disguise time of death. That's it there. Don't think there's anything of... Is there... Don't suppose there's anything about a grouse here. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? The paper from 10 years ago is browning with age. Look, I'm pretty sure I've already gone through this, but oh well. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. And do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League then? Oh, I guess I hadn't, actually, because it didn't have the tick last time. Then there's that, but we already know what that's about. Venus firecracker. Photo. Pocket watch. His ID. Why do we have this? I'm... Like, obviously this is going to be relevant for something, but for what? It's the Asogi... The Asogi papers. Oh, I guess maybe because we looked at these in the previous chapter, that now that we're in the final chapter, it's all refreshed or something. Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, for a metal chest like this to have been so badly damaged, whatever made that gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force. I wonder how it happened. Then there's also the blood stain. I don't suppose there's anything related to a grouse in his chest. No, there's just the passport. Appears to be a passport authorizing him to travel overseas. One day before the incident. What? Really? Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered? Wait a second. Okay, but we don't have anything that's... Like, we could have presented that early on, but then we got the name of the club now, so I feel like that's got to be relevant, surely. Permission to travel... Date of departure within 1 week from 31st of October. Okay, so it's not necessarily that he went the day before the incident. It's just within 1 week from there. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. That, of course, being Gina. Let's just go through everything. Supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. Turned up a notebook that had secret meetings in it. The smuggled goods deal was gonna happen at a gentleman's club called the Grouse. It's a big job, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. And there's witnesses that saw the Reaper there. I am already stumped. Huh. Why did we have to extract that piece of information when we don't have anything here related to the grouse? I think we did already press this, didn't we? The grouse, yeah. That's where they think it was. I'm just gonna try it because it's the only potential lead I have. His passport saying that he was actually, like, why was he investigating this London club when he was actually supposed to be leaving for France? Objection. Nope. That last statement seemed a little questionable to me. What do you think, my lord? I see no inconsistency there. Do you? You could span the straits of Dover with those wide eyes, Counsel, and be gone from this island forever, I hope. Do you want me to fill the English Channel with my tears? Going to happen at a gentleman's club called The Grouse. Why is that relevant? We have nothing here related to the grouse. Do we? Okay, yeah, this is just the same thing. The grouse. Why did we extract that piece of information? They wouldn't have us pull it out if it wasn't relevant. Theoretically, we could... Like, it could be that... I think what we had to do last time was, like, we had to get it... Well, not last time, the time before, I think. We, like, pulled out an extra bit of test information, and then that contradicted something else, but... I'll just press the first two statements again, just in case the grouse thing changed anything. Right now it's the same. Okay, yeah, this is all the same. So I am... So he had a secret notebook under his desk. Wait, why do we still have this? Have we used this at any point? Also, why does it say he appears to have no particularly distinctive facial features? Anyway, note of introduction on behalf. 10 years ago, harshly reprimanded. Murder weapon. Probably best to avoid handling it. Let me just have a look-see. So this is the type of revolver that's standard issue for members of the judiciary then. Yes, and when I was asked about whether records are kept about who they're issued to, I was told that for the past 5 years they've been engraved with unique serial numbers. Oh, but as far as I can tell, there's nothing like that on this gun, which tells us that it must have been issued longer ago than that. Okay.
So that's information, but nothing that particularly helps us. God, what the? How am I stumped on the first fucking testimony of the chapter? Bro. Nothing here that would indicate where he was. Okay, if you say so. Okay, yeah, this is just all what we did last time. I am so confused. What? Huh? I don't... Hold on, I'm gonna save just so I can reload if whatever happens. This one's the older one. We'll save here. What the fuck am I supposed to do here? A Volvo. Hairpiece, Gregson's photograph. Autopsy report. Crime scene floor plan. There's a red hairpiece on his head. I don't... What? It's got a passport number. That might be important. I don't get it. What? I am lost. Not that any British court would recognize counsel. I'm skipping through this because it's just failure dialogue. Should I be wondering if I'll make it out of this courtroom alive? Apparently the smuggled goods deal was going to happen at a gentleman's club called The Grouse. It's a big job, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. So witnesses what saw the Reaper there too. And we know that... That's all I got to work with. Don't know what to make of this. He was investigating Inspector Gregson, but he never mentioned he met the inspector the day before the incident. Don't think Lord Van Zieks could have been lying to us. That's not the only way to explain this. If everything Lord Van Zieks has told us is true, then there must be a mistake in this testimony somewhere. Details we've yet to uncover. And this is the only detail that came from pressing. It was issued for travel to France the day before his body was discovered.
His traveling trunk.
Objection.
I don't know. I don't know. I am so lost. Hold on, I need to remove this notification. It's distracting me.
Objection.
This is ID. I am so fucking lost. What? There's no contradiction here. No contradiction other than the put there by a not so far away Lord Chief Justice, if you remember. The grouse. Why is it? We asked for the name of the club. We have no evidence related to that, though. So, like, why?
Objection.
Okay, we reload. Like, what do we have? We have Mr. Vigil. Written on the back of a ticket for passage on a steamship. There is, like, nothing of relevance here. What? You know, when I was thinking, you know, we're not going to finish this case today. I didn't think I'd spend a fucking hour stuck on the first fucking testimony. Obviously, but it hasn't, like, the stream's been going for an hour. I haven't been stuck on the one statement for an hour, but none of this seems relevant. Check that none of the other news reports mention. Note of introduction, dismissal notice, framed photograph, policeman figure, revolver, candelabrum, a wig, crime scene floor plan. No, I have no clue. I'm looking it up. I normally don't do this, but I don't want to be stuck on the first fucking testimony, and nothing seems relevant right now. Okay. I normally, yeah, spoiler-free walkthrough. There we go. That's what I need. Case 5. Trial Part 1. Press statement. Insist. What the fuck? Looks like this is some sort of steamship ticket. The... Didn't I say, isn't the fucking grouse a black bird? Okay. That's the boat they came on from Japan. They couldn't have, like, actually... They couldn't have put that in the heckin'... They couldn't have put that in the actual details of the fucking... Like, here it says, like, it's written on the back of a ticket for a passage on a steamship. They couldn't have made it like it's written on the back of a ticket for the SS Grouse or something. Like, how the fuck?
Objection.
I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they're places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues. How the fuck? God damn it. Don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted. Seriously? Is your mirror cracked or something? Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called the Grouse? The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet. And I'm sorry to say that they probably won't. What do you mean by that? I mean that the place Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all. Oh, and that's why he went to France, to investigate the ship that had just docked in France the night before. You're showing a very irreverent attitude towards our country's police force there, Counsel. If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it? A steamship. You think it's a ship? I have evidence to prove it. Here! Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not in the least bit untrustworthy. The other side, my lord. Be more specific next time. Hmm? Ah, this would appear to be a ticket for passage upon a steamship, yes. The SS Grouse. God damn it. They couldn't have just put it in the fucking description? So there's a steamship named the Grouse that happens to share a name with the club. But I'm afraid to say, there's a flaw in your logic there. How? Look at the ticket. Notice the date of arrival in port. The ship arrived at the port of Dover on 1st November. Ah! The day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. In other words, on the day in question here, 31st October, when the victim was on his clandestine mission. That ship hadn't yet docked on British shores, and would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging. Oh, and that's why they weren't able to find a refrigeration device anywhere in London, because it was on the boat. The fact that the steamship hadn't yet reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question. I heard a weird-ass noise. It stopped the moment I took my headphones off. But it's not in the game, because I can't hear it anymore. Then show your evidence for that assertion. Very well. Exclamation mark. In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. It is his passport. What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim?
dated 31st October. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just one day before the inspector's body was discovered, there's a distinct possibility that he wasn't even in the country. Order, order! This document is for passage to France. It does appear to have been officially authorized. The day before the SS Grouse arrived in Dover, it docked on the northern coast of France for a night. According to my father, who was on board, at the port of Dunkirk. Dunkirk, France. What could possibly have taken the victim there? Ha 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 ha! I'm impressed, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport. What? You mean you knew about this? The prosecution's strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations, and the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something. What? And now that you've expertly disproven their assertion, I intend to reveal what I believe that something to be. What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asogi? A courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord. Which is why it's my duty to present all the facts without exception. Let me guess. This was your intention from the outset, wasn't it? The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper. The Reaper? Whomst? Whomst would he be? Hairbrain. Hairbrain was traveling to France to then go back to Germany. Oh no. Order, order! What on earth are you saying, counsel? The prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that. What? Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was, in fact, acting for the Reaper. So, you're saying the mission he was undertaking was, obviously, an assassination. Baroque Van Zieks never carried out any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast-iron alibi. Which tells us that he must have had an accomplice. And you claim that was Inspector Gregson? What the hell do you think you're saying, eh? My boss would never have done nothing like that.
And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense.
No, it can't be.
We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper. Even so, there's no way that the person giving him his orders was Lord Van Zieks. No, the true Reaper is the hell is my throat doing? The true Reaper is somebody else. Someone who may or may not be sitting in the judge's seat right now. Baroque Van Zieks is not the Reaper. A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man. And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent of the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grouse on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Oh, you have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, counsel? Absolutely, it's very simple.
on the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. Professor Mikotoba and Judge Shigoku were on that very ship. If someone had been assassinated, I'm sure we would have heard about it. Actually, never mind, because Albert was in France, but he wasn't aboard. He wasn't aboard the Grouse. Poof. What's so funny? You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think perhaps you've missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life. What? Gregson did board the SS Grouse that night, with the intention of dispatching his mark. But his mission ended in failure. Failure? It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here. What are you talking about? What detail? Inspector Gina Lestrade. Eh? What? The victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier. That doesn't contain details of secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey. You're lying! Even if all them bludgeons what got taken out had it coming, the boss weren't the Reaper. Poor Gina. There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but if you've spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard rumours. I ain't heard nothing, and I don't believe a word of it. Then testify again, as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss. I don't like the way that clang echoes. It feels ominous. I concur. The witness will give a new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's secret notebook. Witness testimony. The Reaper's notebook. Yeah, this notebook does have a load of stuff about the Reaper. About what the Reaper got up to these past 10 years. Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. And the last entry there was 31st October. It said grouse for the place on that date. And then the name of the mark. There was a note about him being a criminal what got away from the Reaper in court 10 years ago or something. Judge Jigoku. I'm guessing Judge Jigoku. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. He was just investigating the Reaper, that's all.
Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We require only the established fact here.
This must be so hard for her.
You can't deny it now, surely, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
What can't I deny? The notebook contained the name of the final mark, and the location where the assassination would take place. That's information that the victim could only have known if he was working with the Reaper.
So, who was to be this final mark?
Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court. The name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the grouse on 31st October. How do you read this then? Reading's still not a strong suit. That ain't the problem, alright, Odo. It's a funny name. It ain't English. It's hard to read. So it's someone from overseas. Let me have a bash at it. Seishiro, is it? Yes, Seishiro. Jig-ok-yu, maybe? What? It can't be. Seishiro Jigoku? But that's Judge Jigoku!
Seishiro Jigoku. Certainly not an English name, you're right.
Objection.
But that can't be right. I know Judge Jigoku, and I saw him the day before yesterday, here in London. So I know for a fact the man hasn't been assassinated. As I said, the Reaper failed. Oh. Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and returned to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake, so he killed the inspector personally. Oh, so that's what they're going with. The Reaper, of course, being the accused Baroque Van Zieks.
It's an undeniably logical argument.
Kazuma, you planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you?
Hold it.
Van Zieks? He's got his chalice. Hey!
Pray, forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice whilst I stand accused of murder.
Lord Van Zieks!
The accused has no right to speak uninvited in this court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of the court to decide. But there is one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl is no detective.
Eh? What? No, that's right. I ain't. I'm an inspector.
Repeating rumors heard around the yard. Reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony. It's practically a script. No doubt the rest of this trial will go exactly as you've clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I am the Reaper, who sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself, by attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony.
What did you say? Mr. Naruhodo, this is our chance. My lord, the defense requests that the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to some important information regarding the testimony just given by the witness.
Very well. I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination. Then allow me to toast to the court's impartiality. Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination immediately.
At once, my lord. A fucking face slap. Alright, let's get pressing. Does have a load of stuff about what the Reaper got up to the last 10 years. In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper. Not you at all. That ain't the only explanation, is it? He could have been investigating the Reaper in secret, and that notebook said what he found out.
If I may. When originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believed the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law would to be beneficial.
But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you?
Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper.
One arm? What are you on about?
The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization, with you at its head. I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I had been able to check
the most recent. So I'd been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location. You knew it said grouse. Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate, alone. Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claimed to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. Very well then, back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook. Fine. Something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seemed to be a little shocked by something a moment ago. Oh, no, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I? Huh? Is there something there that I missed? Anyway. Names of victims, dates, places, and stuff? What in particular? Well, beside the victim's name, this other name kept cropping up. Miss Shin. And what other name was that? It's the one I told you yesterday. The same name written over and over again. You mean Asa Shin? Yeah, that's the one. She's a friend of yours or something, isn't she? Were you even listening yesterday? Asa Shin, the assassin. What? Like a killer, you mean? Gregson was the tactician, the one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they would be vulnerable and who to use to get at them. But the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes. Then perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been... Clearly, the assassin, who was meant to take Seishiro Jigoku's life. Gina, can you confirm that? Against the final entry listed Grouse and Seishiro Jigoku. What name was written? Oh, well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it, as it happens. Because, of course, Miss Shin is already dead. She was killed in London earlier in the game. Not in London, in Japan. I'm stupid. What? It just had, like, a question mark or something there, I think. In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case. But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not? Oh, how infuriating. A nameless assassin. It said Grouse for the place on that date, and then the name of the mark. And you're saying that the mark listed was Seishiro Jigoku? That's what it said. Funny name if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd. So pleased to have lost my crown there. Mr. Jigoku is the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature. I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago. Studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart. That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. So Lord Strongheart was Judge Jigoku's mentor. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, after that fateful case. Precisely. The aftermath of the Professor case, or in the aftermath of the Professor case, his repatriation was organized immediately. It's a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook. I didn't think it was possible, but the mood in here's got even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking. Good idea, Gina. There's a note about him being a criminal that got away from the Reaper 10 years ago. What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal. Well, don't ask me. I don't know nothing about it. Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Jigoku did once appear in court here in Britain. It was related to the Professor case, I'm sure. Yes, of course, you're right. Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Right. It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens. You did? It was considered to be an adjunct of the Professor proceedings, you see. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule. That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike. What? No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination? The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindicative the Reaper is. Come on, that's absurd. To take someone's life for that? Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd? Killing those who have been found innocent? Clearly, the rules by which the man operates are beyond a sane person's comprehension. Gina. Gina hasn't been killed by the Reaper. And it's because Gregson's involved. And he doesn't want her to die, I'm guessing. He's probably vouching for her and being like, no, don't kill her. No, I won't let you. Oh, man. But Whomst? Right, I've had just about enough of this. Gina? All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people. It's cobblers. Come on, Ono. Yes? Why ain't you saying nothing? Why ain't she yelling out objection or something? What? You've got to find a flaw. You do usually. Someone's lying here, no question. You've got to work out who it is. Please, for the boss. Sorry, Gina, but I don't think there's any denying that Gregson was involved. That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. I might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear? I've had it with a lot of you. It's lies every bleeding place you look in this world, innit? Well, I've had enough. Gina. So have I. After that little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind. To do what, Mr. Nanohara? There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd. Oh, do you mean... I'm not going to let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears. Come on, to help. You gotta find a flaw somewhere. I'm gonna press this again, because this is where Ryunosuke said something felt odd, so I'm going to read... I'm not going to read it out loud, I'm just going to read it so that it sinks in.
Basically acting as the Reaper. Not the only explanation. Investigating the Reaper in secret. And that notebook is what we found. Is what he found. But originally didn't object. Carried out your own investigations into the true identity. Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. What do you want about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way... Reaper is an organization, with you at its head. I had spies at the yard, keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I had been able to check the most recent entry in this book. I knew the location. You knew it said Grouse. Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate alone. So explains why several members of the club had claimed to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there, because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport in the victim's metal trunk. And then Ryunosuke reacts to that. It's 31st October. Something about the passport, I guess. And the metal trunk. There's a dark stain here, do you think? I think it's blood. Present at the scene when Inspector Gregson was killed. I think Gina's been carrying this around with her. If you didn't know any better, I suppose it does look like a grease stain from all the fish and chips. So it has blood on it and a slash of some sort. A gash, maybe a bullet hole. Bullet graze. But what does that contradict? Names of dates and places. Said grouse for the place on that date and then the name of the mark. Note about him being a criminal that got away from the Reaper. But what? God, this final case is fucking difficult, yo. Like, he gave me a hint there. With the whole, oh, he was heading towards the steamship, the Grouse, as evidenced by the thing in his metal trunk. Which... But then, like, even if it is, what would I present it to? And what would, like, that's not part of the testimony. What the fuck? Huh? Grouse for the police on that date. Victims, dates, places, and stuff. Last entry was 31st October. I am so fucking lost right now. Holy shit. Vulva candelabrum, wig, photo, autopsy report, crime scene, notice board. Venus firecracker, photograph of the victim. Pocket watch, identification, commemorative photograph, the Asogi papers, Gregson's trunk, passport. I'm gonna press again. I just want to see exactly how it's put. Not the only explanation. Could have been investigating in secret. Carrying out his own investigations. Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. Sorry, had to sneeze. Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals. No way one. It's an organization with you at its head. Spies at the yard, keeping abreast of his movements. Been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location. You knew it said grouse. Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate alone. So it explains why several members of the clubs claim to have seen you there, but of course, the inspector was not there. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport in the victim's metal trunk. Exclamation mark. Very well, then back to your testimony about the contents of this book. Like, are we shocked that he knew about the trunk? I don't understand what's happening here. Like, not like normally I don't get stumped this fucking hard. Like, what is Ryunosuke reacting to there? Of course, the inspector was not there because at the time he was making his way to France, making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport in the victim's metal trunk. Exclamation mark. Why is that a shock? We know that the passport was found in the victim's metal trunk. And it is his passport. Wait. It had blood on it. He had his trunk when he was killed. He wasn't killed when he made it back to London. He was definitely killed while he was traveling with that trunk, with that passport. But how... Oh, I probably presented to the last one, the floor somewhere. But just in case. Did I figure it out? Did I figure it out? Oh, I should have gone the other way around.
Objection.
No! Or maybe do I press on it?
Hold it.
I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve. Eh? What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency? Really, Otto? I don't quite know what it means yet, but... Yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by, I'm going to assume, Kazuma Asogi.
Take that!
There we go. Okay. By you, Kazuma Asogi. Me? Is this some attempted filibustering, Counsel? Prosecutor Asogi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I presented the real piece of evidence, the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. Very well then, Counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Asogi has said? I assume it's the trunk. This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, is it? Certainly very heavy. What's this? A blood stain. A relatively fresh one, too.
What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips?
Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report.
Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the... Oh, right. So the...
Okay.
Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it. But I found it. Me, with me nose for trouble. Humph. Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. Excuse me? Wait, he was out of town. He wasn't in London when Gregson was killed. He came back to head the prosecution. Kazuma, what are you doing? And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Kazuma. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. So the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk? We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport? But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Kazuma. On 31st October, where exactly were you? At the port of Dunkirk, on board the SS Grouse. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke? Kazuma, what did you... I hadn't considered the possibility before, but if Kazuma was there on the ship, then it can only have been for one purpose. Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo, surely you don't think... Ha 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 ha! Come on, Ryunosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he travelled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing. Kazuma, are you challenging me to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt? That you were, that day, in the same place as the inspector? His what's it? His passport said one other person. Kazuma's the +1. He was there? With Gregson? There's a clue that you've overlooked. A secret that trunk can tell us. The slash! Kazuma carries a sword! I can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify it, but I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right.
The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found. Where is the evidence that ties Prosecutor Asogi to Inspector Gregson? The D-bar/. This is your proof? What do you say to that, Prosecutor Asogi? Personally, I think tying the defense counsel to Inspector Gregson's trunk and tossing it into the sea would be more helpful. What? At least that way, London's courtrooms will be safe from his destructive accusations. I believe that was a rather long-winded way of telling you that you're wrong, Mr. Naruhodo. Very well. Then let us see if you sink or swim under the weight of this penalty, counsel.
I am doing a shit job of this.
I was hoping to never let that happen, funnily enough. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found.
Good lord, I am doing an absolute shit job of this case.
Where is the evidence that ties Prosecutor Asogi to Inspector Gregson?
It's really not the slash. Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, for a metal chest like this to have been so badly damaged, whatever made that gash must have struck the side with considerable force. I wonder how it happened. So there's nothing else on the outside, so if it's not that, then let's have a look inside. Then what all's inside? 31st October. So this passport is for the day before Gregson's body was found. He needed this document for his trip to France. And when it says permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel, okay, that's what they mean. I can't believe it was you, Kazuma. Wait a second. Do you see that? There's something stuck in the side of the trunk there. It's glinting. It looks like a fragment of metal of some sort, but it's wedged so tightly I can't remove it. Well, don't cut yourself. You better leave it, I think. Is that the tip of his sword?
Got it!
There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here, like the tip of a blade. Eh? A blade? Kazuma, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Karuma. Of course it is. Won't you draw it here in this courtroom? For all to see.
Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer. Bailiff, watch Prosecutor Asogi like a hawk.
That won't be necessary. Oh, no. Oh, no! The tip is broken. If the fragment of metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Kazuma Asogi. Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you, and well deserved.
Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asogi?
Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me.
And the mission was?
The assassination of the Mark. What? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jigoku? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one.
Explain.
I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk, but I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never going to do it? We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Shigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We travelled to Dover, from where we crossed the channel to Dunkirk. There we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Shigoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but you've already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in town and returned to England the following morning. So how the fuck did your sword, the tip of your sword, get wedged in his trunk then? A boarding house in Dunkirk. My signature will be in the register book. It would be simple enough to verify. Then what became of Jigoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. That doesn't explain what happened to your sword, though. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. Doubt. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson. So, jeez, sorry. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection.
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? Thank you, Van Zeeks. Asking the questions we're all thinking. I don't need to answer that. Yes, you fucking do! The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade isn't relevant to the... Like, bullshit, it's not! Fuck off! Are you fucking stupid? This proves you were at the scene, that you drew your blade, that you attacked Gregson. Even if he was killed by a gunshot wound, that is ample evidence to prove you have a connection to the case. That is not irrelevant. Fuck off. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter. Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. Great sword Kadima. We must take immediate action now, except I will actually first be investigating this. Kadima, the Great Blade. It's such a thing of beauty. I want to gaze at it for hours. The tip of the great sword, broken. It's such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. I can almost hear Kadima's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. Just make sure there's no other evidence that we're missing. No, just that the tip's missing. To verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How do you... When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours... It's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed? The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from inside a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zeeks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Order! Order in the court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst. Oh no, not Judge Jigoku. No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except, that is, for the Reaper, wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake. My lord? I sincerely hope we are successful. If we are unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes. Oh no. Or maybe we're gonna find his body and then we'll compare it to the photo, and that's why we have the photo in our evidence. Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I can hardly believe it either, but on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. It's time to pull the ears of the rabbit. Of course! The little Mr. Sherms doll that Iris gave us. So what's actually inside the rabbit? If for some reason today you completely ran out of options in the trial today, I said today twice, don't worry about it, then you can pull little Hurley's ears, then just pull little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Haley's ears or not? I'm gonna save, but I assume the only correct answer is yes. Pull! Here goes nothing then. I'm going to do it. Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave! Ow! That scream. It sounded like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes? Where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here. It's the felt doll talking. Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. Alright then, I'll put all my strength into it. Heave! Ow! Please, dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse, which looks to be a recolored, potentially just reused, version of the SS Buria from the first game. The SS Grouse? She left Dover last night, after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to board this vessel in time. So, you mean you'd already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place? Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Herlock Sholmes, world-famous great detective. Recited to perfection. Well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow. Miss Susato, gently with this genius's ear, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes. Ah, there you are, Mikotoba. You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday when we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket. Ah, ha, 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 ha. But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions utter my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads, then I'm afraid to say. Do not fret, please. It is for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within the half hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow, 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 ow. I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion. Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operated in that way in the first place, Sholmes? Why the deuce should I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine. So we playing as Mikotoba now? Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half that now before the grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long. There are times, Mikotoba, where you make a surprising amount of sense. Surprising? So let us begin. Is that the dude from the first game? He's even got his fucking... his, mousetrap. First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. He looks like the same guy, but they may have just reused the model and, like, altered a few things to make him a different character. That angry crewman is in front of the doors, and that crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Why are you loitering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you? Oh, I get it. This is his brother. Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Chicken Stroganoff when you see? His brother in the first game was called Biff Stroganoff. And now he's Chicken Stroganoff. Why does he have Sholmes written on his arm? Great detective. Ha! I don't think so. Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Goodness me, is that a tattoo that says Sholmes? I must say, while such adoration is flattering naturally, it does leave me a little cold. What are you talking about? Leave now. How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact. How could you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikotoba.
I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku. There is no one with this name on board. But we know that he purchased a ticket for passage. You mean Eastern Man? He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk. He said something about emergency, I think.
What?
Are you sure?
So Seishiro's realized we're after him, has he? This cabin is the one behind you. We would like to investigate, please.
No! I have orders not to let even mouse inside.
Mikotoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area.
Doesn't great detective see that even sailors have ears, both left and right?
I apologize to any Russians watching this. This is the best I can do. Curses, the plan is ruined. And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Mr. Sholmes. Did he say Mr. Sholmes or just Sholmes? Oh, just Sholmes, okay.
Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot get inside.
Mikotoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you? Opening any lock? Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typical accommodating manner.
How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend?
So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man, so, the game is afoot. Yeah, I think this is just a recolor of the ship from the first game, but, you know, it's making smart use of the assets they have, I guess. What is this?
Ah, the switch for the electrical lights.
Perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewmen wouldn't be able to see what we were doing. Sure.
Ah, what is happening? Where is light?
Now, Sholmes, now! Thud, thump. Click.
Humph! Nobody there.
That was a close shave. Quite a knack you have, stumbling so violently in an empty corridor.
Do be quiet, Sholmes. I shall have to think of another approach.
I guess he couldn't do it in the dark.
This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it.
Let's leave it alone for now, just in case.
No, I think not. That would never work, surely. I need to concoct another distraction.
We'll look at everything else first, and then we'll turn this on, I guess.
That's another first-class cabin, yet its door is completely unguarded.
Empty as well. I had a quick look inside earlier. Though I confess, I didn't investigate the wardrobe. There may very well be a young Japanese fellow inside, perspiring merrily.
If you're referring to Naruhodo, you would do very well. You would know very well that he's currently perspiring merrily in court.
Does it not strike you, though, Mikotoba? Why the man stands guard only in front of this cabin when both are apparently vacant? It strikes me indeed.
This must be a mousetrap, I think.
Perhaps I could just... God, why is that?
Perhaps I could distract the crewman's attention with this somehow.
Try it. Snap. Choo choo!
That sounds like a big mouse. That sounds like big mouse in trap.
Choo choo!
I will bring bucket of water later and put out of misery.
I don't like the sound of that. In any case, my dear fellow, that wasn't quite convincing. It was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make a chew sound. Oh really, Sholmes? And pray tell, what sound do Russian mice make? Pee, naturally. Though quite unconvincingly, I readily admit. So go ahead, Mikotoba. Do a pee this time. No, thank you. I'm sure I can come up with an alternative solution. Fun fact, that's why Pikachu is called Pikachu. Because the chew comes from the sound a mouse makes. That's the way back to the deck. But we certainly can't give up on this now. Alright, I guess it's time to do this.
Here goes then. Pardon me in advance.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
You, what are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be very bad problem.
What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganov. Report at once.
Sorry, sir, nothing to report. It was just stupid trick. No, not by me. By world famous... No, as I told you.
Now, Sholmes, now! Done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikotoba. In we go. Oh, yes. Zoom. SS Grouse, first class cabin number 2. Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. Those clothes on the floor there. They're Seishiro's without question. My man's a honk shoe kind of sleeper with those kinds of pajamas. That's such a dumb joke.
Well, it seems we are just a little too late.
Yes, by about 2 hours. Oh, no. It seems we are just a bit too late.
It's by about 2 hours.
Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here.
But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes.
Indeed he may. Which makes this all the more thrilling. Okay, first port of call.
There's a speaking tube here, look. Though it's been stoppered with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen in the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose.
Or indeed, so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere.
Could something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think?
Either that, or it could be to prevent snakes from entering.
That's really become a favourite case of yours, hasn't it?
Even though it was not, in fact, a snake. In the actual case. That's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown.
Mohiki work trousers, a Tanzen robe, a Harumaki waistband. Clearly the clothing of a Japanese man.
And clearly, Japanese men are unaccustomed to the culture of the wardrobe.
It looks to me as if they've been thrown in a heap like that in something of a hurry.
Indeed. You could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps. I'm sure you made mention of packing too few.
I'd very likely drown in one of Seishiro's shirts. No, I'll just buy any extras I need, I think.
There's always something in the trash can. That's what the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog taught me.
This is the waste paper basket. Look. And there's still rubbish inside.
Indeed? Then let us pry. I've discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets.
I sincerely hope only for your work.
Ah. Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago.
3 days ago? The night before we arrived in London, then. When I was still aboard myself. Evacuation drill. Following departure of the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are... Ah yes, there was an evacuation drill, I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. What's in the box? That's a very sizable trunk. That's a very sizable trunk indeed. Seishiro is partial to all things large. And a rather clumsy fellow. Yeah, if he failed to notice, he left that behind. Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but it's still a hindrance to a speedy escape. Pity. It's locked. So we can't take a look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now the situation will be quite different though. Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present. It's Sholmes. The writing on his arm is actually the number, probably. Yeah, that's seven letters, but they're actually numbers, and that's why the M is at an angle. Okay, but first we need to look around. According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asogi's wardrobe. Indeed he was. It was of a similar size of this one. Ah, you must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow. What? Whatever for? It was the site of my first fateful meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You could experience the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now, in you go. This will only take a moment. Really, Shom, surely you can just tell me what you said. Well, I uttered some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer. I think I'll just read about it in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and/or traveling cases. I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination. What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you? You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though. A trifle. You know what I always say, Mikatoba? There is nothing important about trifles. It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. Eh? Is the wall a slightly different color just here? Oh, the wall is a slightly different color just here. Do you see? Indeed. What you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who's been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. Like this? Here are the rules of passage. Yep. 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 But I think that may be slightly off. Oh, okay. If you say so, I guess we're not going to make the deduction quite yet. Plenty of reading material to keep the passengers occupied on the long sea voyages. I found the mixture of classical literature and easy reading to be most satisfactory, I must say. Whoever stocked this bookcase was a hopeless heretic. There's no copy of The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, my dear fellows. I'm afraid it's just me. But no, you're quite right. More blasphemous than overlooking the Bible. I shall leave a copy behind.
I just happen to have one with me.
You're a true missionary of the Church of Great Detectives, aren't you?
Is that not all?
I guess we look at the door. All the doors on this vessel have locks, I believe.
A wise idea. You never know where and when criminals may strike. But of course, to the great detective Sherlock Holmes. Lock, bolt, or shirt button, it makes no difference. All are unfastened with equal ease.
The way you go on, you sound rather more like a great thief than a great detective.
My dear Mikatoba, as long as there is greatness, I am quite satisfied.
Of course you are.
Oh, I didn't look at the tea set. Quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it...
Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off.
Ice, Mikatoba, ice. What opulence first-class passengers enjoy. Chilled drinks.
Pardon?
Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think? Hehehe.
Well, it is a luxury liner after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world.
Certainly, Mikatoba. The sight of you is making my mouth water.
Okay. I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know.
Here comes Stroganoff.
You are still here? Ah, Able Seaman Stroganoff. Hello again.
I was beginning to think you'd never materialize.
Eh? You are waiting for me?
Of course. I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner.
I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before.
Poor innocent chicken.
Is all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now.
Of course. We shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there is something that must be done.
What are you talking about?
Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth.
Kakoi?
I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't speak Russian. There have been so many languages in this game, and I speak none of them. Lovely. I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all.
Ah!
And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you?
How can you? Good gracious, Mr. Sholmes, you mean you've worked it out? All of it?
It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? So I don't know exactly how long this is going to take, but I'm thinking potentially we might go to the end of the investigation segment, and then next week we can finish up the court sections. Because I did see that it's kind of split between two when I was looking at the spoiler-free walkthrough. I did see there was an investigation. I'm like, oh man, what's going to happen? I wasn't expecting this. It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my imitable logic and reasoning?
Nothing would please me more. What is this?
We have but minutes before the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Time is of the essence. Oh, so we're not doing the full, like, correction shit, I guess. We're just diving straight into it. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jigoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. That is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Ah, yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba. Then please do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? Let's see what the last 3 years have done for your observational skills then, Mikotoba. It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Why, of course it has, quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me. I think I can manage that. It is the glass containing ice. Sorry. Didn't get a chance to mute. Why did he fucking tap dance? Okay. Okay, Mr. Mikotoba. Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass. How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. Ah. It would appear the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand. Get your mind off the refreshments, Sholmes. One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff? But why would Seishiro run from us? Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? That's right, they are. I was on the cabin next door, and Seishiro was, yes, 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage. As I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. This is new to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff? Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm sure won't have escaped your notice. Something out of place in here. That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba. No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can't uncover the truth here. Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow. I believe it's the rules of passage, because it's been moved. Tappity tappity tap. It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as if they were put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. That frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match. You are right. When did frame move? Hardly the most observant crewman, are you, Mr. Stroganoff? I would think your captain is quite justified having his reservations about your reliability. Gah! Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. So, Mr. Mikotoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall? Well now. Did Jigoku kill? Did Jigoku kill, what's his face? Wait, no, but then how? The gun. Did he, like, take Kazuma's gun then?
That looks like a bullet hole. What? Who has been shooting walls?
I see. The projectile has been removed. Clearly, the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff. Ugh. I have the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant.
I don't know what you are talking about. Why would I try to protect innocent stranger?
Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good.
Ugh.
I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense, as clearly shown by...
I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes.
Ah, my dear Mikotoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle. And I'm quite sure you'll see it. In fact, I'd put a wager on it.
So I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides? Well, I can certainly do that.
Oh ho! The wad of banknotes, huh?
Take that!
He's been bribed. Tappity tappity tap.
It's almost too obvious for words.
Quite. The universal language of the world. Money.
Ugh. I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jigoku, yes.
Ugh. So I presume you realize what this means.
There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin, and the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But...
I believe you know, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. And he looks directly at it. Not even a subtle glance, he just fucking looks directly at it. As always, Mr. Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally.
Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor.
We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible.
You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man turned his entire head. Not exactly what you'd describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious.
We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. He's literally... he's still looking at it. Okay. It's in the trunk.
You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? The truth is, Seishiro Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time, and is, at the very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk.
If he still has breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interests for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible.
But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code.
But we do. The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure.
Of course.
In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. And as I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff.
Oh, no, I know nothing about combination code,
he says while clearly displaying his arm with the code written on it. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman.
Huh?
Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk?
How on earth do you expect me?
It's a 7-digit number, remember? Quickly now, we have little time.
Okay, S. Oh wait, no. We do it from this side. I'm dumb. S H O L. Oh, you can do this. Shomes. No, it's refusing to open. Dang it. Tell me, what number did you use? Well, to begin with, I thought I'd try my birthday.
No? Your birthday? Interesting. Since as of today, with that absurd guesswork, you're dead to me.
As measured as ever in response, Shomes.
Did I get in the wrong order? If you would only look in the right place, Mikotoba, the answer would be staring you in the face.
The right place?
But if you're having a spot of bother, I always find standing on my head aids the cognitive process. Oh! I did do it backwards. I'm dumb. Because, like, I did it from left to right. But, like, no, I was right the first time. I had it right, and then I corrected myself to be wrong. It's S-H-O-L-M-E-S. Sholmes. Click.
That did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you? Well, Eugen, you found me now.
Seichiro.
I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it.
No, quite. I just wish it was some other way. Well, are you ever going to introduce me?
Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read many stories about your exploits.
Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil is in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion, who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone else when things turned sour.
I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor.
Well, Seichiro, are you going to explain all this?
You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here in this very ship.
By the Reaper of the Bailey?
Yes, I've since heard.
Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you.
And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed till...
God, what is my diaphragm doing?
When we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again.
So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it?
I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you.
It's somewhat surprising, I must say.
What is?
Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available.
So says the protagonist of some colourful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket and here I am. I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else from taking this cabin and seeing the evidence, is that it? Eugen, I have nothing to say to you.
Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once.
You have no jurisdiction over my movements.
We have this, Seishiro. Take it.
What is this?
It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be.
You came prepared then, Eugen.
Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Sholmes? Inside Mr. Jigoku's trunk. I was right. I said that Gregson's body was transported in Mr. Jigoku's large trunk, didn't I? I said that in one of my earlier streams, and now we see the top of his fucking stopwatch. I found this rather fascinating trinket.
What is that?
Seishiro?
I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what, I have no idea.
By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know. Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant. It's not to be continued, so I think we will go for a little longer, maybe to the next testimony, because there's still like 15 minutes before I would normally end stream. Kazuma Asogi, I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie, but still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. I need water.
During the past 30 minutes, while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained. We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed.
There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict. No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know to never presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all the relevant testimony. There can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony.
In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel.
Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way, and scheduled to arrive tomorrow.
Who on earth is this crucial witness?
Seishiro Jigoku, the man allegedly murdered by the Reaper.
Judge Jigoku? You found him? But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggested that Jigoku is already dead. How in the name of God did you find the man?
He was located in France during the recess, at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes's famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes. Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death. Because along with Prosecutor Asogi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Seishiro Jigoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to adjudication at this point. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered. In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. After like 2 testimonies, and that was it. No objections from either side. No, my lord. No objections, my lord. We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth. To be continued. But I still have like 10 minutes before I'd normally end, so we'll keep going for a bit. We hit the to be continued mark earlier than I thought we would. I wasn't ready for this. It's fine. I don't need to draw a comic strip today. I've already finished that, so I'm okay to go a little longer than normal. Also, let me just let me real quick check something, because I'm pretty sure. Huh. I guess she's not streaming today after all. Maybe I had her schedule wrong. Anyway, the unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamour around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was still a typical night. Then, at little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. There's no tutorial part. Not tutorial. There was nothing about this in the spoiler-free walkthrough, so there's probably not any mystery solving, and it's just like chatting right now. So we can probably get through this, and then like once it gets to the court again, then we can end the stream, I guess. We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you've had an even more wearing day than Mikotoba and I, no? You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So, this prosecutor, Asogi, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible. To think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started, almost a year ago now, Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Shigoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have quite a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikotoba. This must be quite a shock for him. Ah, yes. I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you the matter only yesterday. You put upon me, Mr. Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well.
Oh, you've had a reply already?
What was so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I am far too hungry for an involved conversation at present.
Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone.
And what a feast it is! If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding.
Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up.
In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well.
Sorry, Hurley, not there.
Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening?
Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy.
For me?
That's right, I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. Professor Mickey!
I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you.
It's a shame, really.
What do you mean?
Oh, what do you mean? That was Ryunosuke. Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh? Iris, do you mean... Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened into the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left. What? Nice.
The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris's father. Then what the fuck? Yes, about that Iris. About that Iris. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment.
Oh, Iris. The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping.
Oh, no, that's quite alright.
Then why don't I get any apologetic pheasant? Because you're still hiding shit from her.
So just who is Iris's father? I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today.
Huh.
Sholmes is still hiding so much from us. Like, we don't... He said that, oh yeah, my partner's stuff is all in the box. And yes, those were written by Susie's dad, but no. Like, what? I am confused. Did he just lie? What the fuck is going on? So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious.
Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds.
This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan, and about Kazuma. I can't let this opportunity slip away.
Mr. Sholmes? Why are you sitting like that?
Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes.
Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy.
Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes,
Could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. I can probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss. Indeed we do. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? This. I thank my lucky stars it arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. Right, that was the thing. That was the thing that was that we found in the end of the first game. So Dr. Wilson was part of the... Are they saying Dr. Wilson is part of the Reaper? The Reaper organization? What? Those 4 names? We've come across that exact same list before. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue, a plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. And exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So, why are the names coming up again now? Yes. Where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. That'd be Inspector Hosonaga, probably. There he is. You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you. And in my name. I wonder what guise he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of urgency, you understand. Anyway, the list of names was found in Seishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looked deadly serious for once. Well now. So were Jigoku and Strongheart the kingpins of this, and then Strongheart like ordered Jigoku to be killed in order to like, yeah, this is my organization now, this is all mine. And then he held this thing and invited Judge Jigoku to come so that he could then have him assassinated. That tragedy we had to go through on the Buria, on the SS Buria. It was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie.
I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost.
What?
I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan.
His remains, you mean?
Precisely, Mr. Sato. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead.
Oh my, you mean...
The arrangement between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accompanied on a study tour. To be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least.
Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in aid of stopping Kazuma from coming to Britain? That's why you...
Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo.
Was there not somebody who I'd casually urge you to continue the voyage to England?
The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead.
My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. So, you manipulated me? I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it. But if it was all contrived, I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I don't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. I seem to remember Miss Susato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see. Oh. An omen that at this very moment in time is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. Okay, so we need to present something to him, surely. I mean, this? There was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Shigoku's office that had to be searched, so... You obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we only learnt those 4 names just over 6 months ago now, and only because they appeared as part of the top secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes, but at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to approve
others for intercepting state secrets. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments.
You're perpetually doing what? How? Sholmes! What are you doing?
Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it.
Oh my, Mr. Sholmes! What a fabulous line.
Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku from Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct, and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow.
Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names, and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected.
Tell us. As I said when I learnt of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names, because you see, there was someone else on the list who I believed to be recently deceased. What? Who? A Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin. That was familiar to me. She was a professional killer, well known amongst London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful of the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list.
Kei Asogi and T. Gregson.
Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself, but I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain.
Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead.
Exactly.
So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes?
Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I'd recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course.
So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know. Oh, Iris. I know he wasn't my daddy, but still. That's very sad. I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No.
But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis.
A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes. You mean about Asa Shin, I presume.
Oh, of course.
Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow. But I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel.
Ah.
And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I'd formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? They're not the ones to be killed, they are the killers, perhaps.
What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy?
Kei Asogi, Asa Shin, T. Gregson. The top 2 are the killers, the bottom 2 are the victims.
What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes?
I believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asa Shin was a killer. So this telegram was a list of both victims and killers, is it?
Indeed.
And it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intent of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status merely being a front. Ah. Which of course would explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Arthur Shin is because he was the target of an assassination. And armed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you? There is another among the four, who subsequently became a visiting student. Wait, you mean... But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean... Kazuma? Oh! He did say in court earlier today. Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was... the assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say. Detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have gotten involved in something like that? But he was sent... He said to carry out a mission. I don't think he said who he was... He was sent to carry out a mission, an assassination. He didn't say who he was sent to assassinate. And we were under the presumption that he was going along with Gregson to assassinate Jigoku. But he was actually there to kill Gregson himself. Let's assume we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange. So to begin with, the British assassin dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange. But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels? Strong heart. These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated, yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That disassociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity, I believe, were the motivation behind this plot. But wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seishiro Jigoku at all. It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? So Judge Jigoku wasn't actually the mark? Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him my fears and implored him to seek transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition. That he'd be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. Holy shit! Alright everyone, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time! Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It is a little bit sad, though. Hmm? I mean, I liked the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris. I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Runo to the floor? Yes, yes, of course. It would be my pleasure. You don't have to agree quite so readily. Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo. Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I will gladly be your brother. Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Okay, Sholmes. Right, I'm going to work extra hard tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sister. What is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what? Hee. You'll just have to wait and see. Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. I'll do my very best, of course. Like no one ever was. So, the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths whilst posing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Shigoku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Oh, that's nice. To be continued? To be continued. That is the perfect point to stop. Because it's past lunchtime, and even though I don't have things that I need to draw today, I would like to at least eat. You know? I don't want to go hungry. Save twice, just to make sure. And that will be it for today. Let me rearrange my windows. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. We will probably finish the game next week. Like, I'll probably split it up between Saturday and Sunday. Like, maybe we'll do Trial Part 1 Saturday and Trial Part 2 Sunday. But tomorrow, I'm going to have this month's Lego building stream. Just because I don't know how long the case is going to go for, and I have things to do tomorrow after stream that I cannot miss. Ideally, I will probably try to start tomorrow's stream earlier, just so that I can definitely be done in time that I won't miss the such and such. It's nothing stream related, it's just things outside of stream, you know? That's why I'm referring to it as the such and such. But yeah, tomorrow we'll be building Lego, and then the week after, we will probably finish off the Great Ace Attorney. And then the week after, we can start on,
Famicom Detective Club. And if I'm smart about it, I might be able to arrange things so I can do a particularly long stream and finish it in one weekend. So that we're ready to start the second Famicom Detective Club game the weekend after. That's the plan. Also, if you want to participate in Clueless Quiz Time, let me know. That's been sitting at the corner of my game scene for how many streams now? I have one applicant, and she is speeding her way through the Ace Attorney series, and it's like, oh no, she's not going to be able to participate, is she? I need to get another quiz topic ready. Anyway, let's see who's online for us to raid. Because my usual raid target is not online, but we do have someone that I haven't raided in a while. Oh, this fucking ad. I hate... There's a fucking ad for, like, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and I hate it. I hate the fucking voice that's going on in there. I'm not gonna try and imitate it. But if you've seen it, you know. Did I spell it right? I did, in fact, spell it right. We are going to be raiding Pinch Raccoon. Oh shit, is it really just me? Oh, there's two viewers. One, they're probably both me, but oh well. I still raid out because, like, algorithm shit. I don't know how the algorithm works, but hey. Here are the raid messages for posterity. Pinch is... I don't know what Pinch is doing. Their stream title says Dragon's Dogma, but they're currently playing that Sand Tetris game, so I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be all from me for today. Thanks for watching. Otsukame. Bye bye. And scene.